Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's Wallsend history story. This week is another video about tales from Wallsend's past. As with the previous videos, the stories are all from different years and are in no particular order. The stories are mostly about everyday people of Wallsend from the past. I hope you will enjoy it and find it interesting. I am starting off with a little section that I am calling a case for the courts. Quite a lot of robberies took place in the past. In the early part of the 19th century, a lot of these robbers were classed as highwaymen. Catching the robbers was not an easy task, and in most cases they would never be found. In July of 1815, the son of Mr. Han, who was a butcher in Wallsend and a journeyman was a name given at the time to describe a trained worker who worked for someone else, were robbed on the road to Morpeth Market by two footpads who were dressed as pitmen. Footpads were simply highwaymen who did not have a horse. They were robbed of quite a large sum of money, and during the scuffle that took place, one of the robbers left his hat and stick behind. It seems the police at the time hoped that these two items would help them to catch the men. However, it seems that they were never caught. The two men who were robbed didn't really help, as they didn't seem to be able to give much of a description. In 1844, Mary Gallagher was accused of stealing 4 shillings and 6pence from George Blackburn of Wallsend. Although he had taken the time to report the crime and even knew who had done it, he didn't turn up to court, so Mary was set free without any punishment. So sometimes, even when someone was caught, they would still get away with their crime. Drunk and disorderly was also very common. It is known that at times in the past, beer and gin, etc., was safer to drink than water, so people often developed a taste for drink, which quickly led to addiction. It is also often the cause of the crimes I cover in my crime and punishment stories. And Wallsend was certainly not safe from those caught in the grip of alcohol addiction. This would nearly always result in those being caught being fined, such as 1 month in 1889, when James Quinn was fined 7 shillings, William Glass 5 shillings, Anne Burkitt 1 shilling, Patrick Welsh 5 shillings, and John Keegan 7 shillings. The list could be endless, but I won't mention any others. But this small selection of names is just an example of how many would be fined almost every single month in the mid to late 1800s. Of course, many other crimes were committed too, and believe it or not, but in 1897 people were still setting off fireworks, as Thomas Brown and Thomas Legg were both fined 5 shillings for setting off fireworks in various Wallsend streets and causing a danger or an annoyance to those who lived there. Another case from 1897 was that of 3 women who found themselves in court after having a fight near Willington Quay. The main cause of the fight was 2 of the women, Hannah and Deborah, had pointed to the mother of the 3rd woman, who was wearing a white dress, and said that she looked like the Willington ghost. All 3 were fined 10 shillings each, and it would seem that even in the 1800s it was the simple things that caused the fights. To finish off this section, I wanted to include a very sad case from 1897, when a boy, who I will simply call Thomas, was arrested for stealing 9 shillings from his boss, Robert Purvis, a butcher of Wallsend. He was taken to court for his crime, and even though Mr. Purvis said he did not want to press the case, as Thomas's parents were very badly off, the magistrates still fined him 40 shillings or a month in prison. I found no evidence of which one he chose, but I doubt that they would have had the money to pay the fine. In 1903, the death was reported of a Mrs. Jane Cree. In around 1902, Mrs. Cree had moved from her home in Scotland to live with her son in Wallsend. At the time of her death, she was said to be 100 years and 6 months old, and the oldest resident in Wallsend at the time. It was said that she had a good memory of the past and had been able to read without the aid of glasses. Her funeral would take place at Wallsend Cemetery, which we now call Church Bank Cemetery. Sadly, I did not find any details of a headstone. The picture on screen at the moment is my drawing of a picture that appeared in the newspapers at the time of her death. A very tragic story appeared in the papers in December of 1898 about the death of a policeman who I will simply call James. He was found underneath the old Killingworth Wagonway Bridge down the Burn. It was thought that he had fallen from the bridge. Although still alive when he had been found, he died a short time later. No one could understand what he had been doing on the bridge, but it was believed that he had been riding the coal wagons and simply fallen off. It would have been very easy to get onto the wagonway from the top of the berm, as before it crossed the bridge, it passed down on wider land with a footpath leading directly up to it. It was said that the wagonway bridge was a single track with a footpath on either side and a handrail. The public were not allowed on the bridge. There were signs up stating this, but this, of course, would not have stopped anyone wanting to go up on the bridge and ride along on the coal wagons as they came down on their way to Wallsend Staithes. A witness who had found James said he had spoken briefly, and he had claimed to have done just as was thought, ridden the wagons over the bridge and fallen off. The inquest had to return an open verdict, although they strongly believed it had simply been a tragic accident. In 1880, the death was announced of Mr. William Swan of the Green Wallsend. At the time, aged 81, William was believed to be the oldest resident in the village of Wallsend. His father had been a farmer in Wallsend, and the farm had been in his family for many, many years. There is a grave at Holy Cross Ruins for a Swan family, which may be relatives of William's. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get a photo because you can no longer get inside where the church ruins and the graves are. William had spent most of his life working as a solicitor, but he was also a very capable farmer too, having taken over his father's farm on his death. He was also a member of the Wallsend local board and had been well known for his good work for the town of Wallsend. Although he was very well known in Wallsend, his funeral was a private affair with mostly family in attendance. And William is buried in St. Peter's churchyard, and I have recently checked and he does have a headstone. However, I have sadly not been able to get a photo of it, as I didn't find out that he had a headstone until it was too late to get a photo. The funeral service was performed by the Reverend Jenkins of St. Peter's Church. William's nephew was William Allen, the alkali manufacturer of Wallsend, and he was one of the 3 beneficiaries of the will. William Swan was quite a wealthy man, leaving the sum of around £40,000, which in today's money would be close to £6 million. I do hope that you have found this short little video interesting. As I say, it is mostly just about everyday people of Wallsend from the past, and I do thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again very soon.